0144 hours, North Arabian Sea, latitude 22 degrees 31 minutes north, longitude 61 degrees 47 minutes east. The water here is 3,100 meters deep, a vast dark column of warm ocean sitting above a featureless abyssal plain that stretches from the Pakistani coastline to the west coast of India without interruption. The surface temperature is 27 degrees Celsius, warm enough that the thermocline, the sharp boundary between warm surface water and cold deep water, where sound velocity changes dramatically, sits relatively shallow, at approximately 80 to 120 meters depth depending on the season and local conditions. This thermocline is important. It is important because sound behaves differently above and below it, bending, refracting, creating acoustic shadow zones that submarines have exploited since the Second World War to hide from surface ship sonar. Iranian submarine commanders know about thermoclines. They study them. They plan their patrol profiles around them. They believe, with a confidence that is about to be tested in the most unforgiving possible way, that the Arabian Sea's acoustic environment gives them an advantage against American anti-submarine warfare assets operating in the region. They are wrong, but they do not know that yet. USS Abraham Lincoln, CVN-72, a Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, is operating 280 nautical miles southeast of the Strait of Hormuz as the centerpiece of Carrier Strike Group 9, conducting sustained strike operations in support of regional security commitments and executing a deliberate freedom of navigation presence in international waters that Iran's government finds deeply objectionable. The Iranians find it objectionable because USS Abraham Lincoln represents, in the most concrete possible terms, the answer to every Iranian claim that American power in the Persian Gulf and Arabian Sea is declining, that the era of carrier dominance is ending, and that Iran's expanding military capabilities have fundamentally altered the regional balance. The carrier's presence is the rebuttal to all of that. She is 1,092 feet long, displaces 104,000 tons, operates 70-plus aircraft from a flight deck that covers 4.5 acres, and has been operating in this region in one form or another for decades without interruption. Tehran has decided that tonight is the night they change that equation, or attempt to. The weapon Tehran has chosen is its newest and most capable submarine, the IRIS Fateh, lead boat of the Fateh class, commissioned in 2019 after years of development and presented by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy as a revolutionary advancement in Iranian underwater warfare capability. At 600 tons displacement and 48 meters in length, the Fateh is a small boat by international standards, comparable in size to a German Type 206 or an Israeli Dolphin in the compact coastal submarine category. But Tehran has worked hard to make her capable beyond her size. The Fateh carries the JASC-2 anti-ship cruise missile, an Iranian-developed weapon fired from the torpedo tube, capable of sea-skimming flight at subsonic speed with a claimed range of 200 kilometers and a 200-kilogram warhead. She carries the Valfajr heavyweight torpedo, an Iranian reverse-engineered development from the Russian Test 71. Her diesel-electric propulsion system running on battery power at slow speed generates an acoustic signature that Iranian engineers have worked diligently to reduce, anechoic tile coatings on sections of the hull, vibration-isolated machinery mounts, a careful propeller design optimized for low cavitation at patrol speeds. The IRGCN has been planning this operation for 6 weeks. The Fateh departed Bandar Abbas 14 days ago, transiting south through the Strait of Hormuz at night, running shallow and slow to minimize her acoustic signature, using the commercial shipping traffic in the strait as acoustic cover, a technique borrowed from Cold War Soviet submarine doctrine. She has been in the Arabian Sea for 11 days, working her way into a patrol position that her commanding officer believes gives her an optimal firing solution against the carrier strike group's projected track. The approach has been disciplined and professional. The crew has maintained strict emissions control. No active sonar, no unnecessary machinery, battery power, only during daylight hours when thermal layering is most pronounced. The The Iranian submarine community has studied American carrier strike group operations in this theater for years. They know the standard patrol patterns. They know the ASW screen geometry. They believe they have found the gap. The gap does not exist. It has not existed since USS Minnesota SSN 783, a Virginia-class Block III fast attack submarine, picked up the Fateh's acoustic contact signature on day 3 of her Arabian Sea transit and began a patient, meticulous trailing operation that has continued for 11 days without the Iranian crew ever knowing they had company. The Virginia-class is the most capable attack submarine the United States has ever built for series production. USS Minnesota displaces 7,900 tons submerged, is 115 meters long, and is powered by a General Electric S9G pressurized water reactor that gives her unlimited endurance and the ability to sustain speeds exceeding 25 knots submerged without the battery limitations that constrain diesel-electric boats like the Fateh. Her acoustic signature, the result of 4 decades of continuous quieting improvement in American nuclear submarine design, incorporating advanced machinery isolation systems, specially designed propulsors, and anechoic coating technology that the Iranians attempted to copy with partial success, is dramatically lower than the Fateh's across every frequency range that matters for passive sonar detection. Minnesota has been listening to the Fateh for 11 days. The Fateh has heard nothing that her crew could classify as a threat. This asymmetry, 11 days of intelligence collection and positioning advantage accumulated invisibly, unknown to the target, is the foundation on which tonight's engagement will be built. At 0144 hours, the Fateh's commanding officer makes his move. He has computed his fire control solution against USS Abraham Lincoln's projected position, based on passive acoustic tracking of the carrier's propulsion signature and the surface ship noise from her escorts. The solution is not precise. Passive sonar targeting against a maneuvering surface group at extended range involves significant uncertainty. But the JASC-2 missile's terminal homing seeker can acquire and home on a carrier-sized target across the uncertainty envelope his fire control system has computed. He orders the boat to periscope depth for a navigation fix and pre-launch electronic support measures scan. This is the moment that changes everything. A diesel-electric submarine going to periscope depth is acoustically detectable. The trim pump operation, the minor increase in propulsor noise as speed is adjusted for depth control, the subtle change in the boat's acoustic signature as her ballast system compensates for the depth change. All of these are registering on Minnesota's AN/BQQ-10 sonar system before the Fateh has covered the first 10 meters of her ascent. The sonar supervisor aboard Minnesota notes the contact's behavior change and immediately reports to the commanding officer. The Iranian boat is ascending. It is transitioning from patrol to attack posture. But Minnesota is not the only American asset that has been watching. At 0127 hours, 17 minutes before the Fateh began her ascent, a P-8A Poseidon from Patrol Squadron 16, operating from a forward deployment base at Masira Island, Oman, arrived on station in a pre-planned anti-submarine warfare patrol pattern 90 nautical miles east of the carrier strike group. The P-8A is not hunting blindly. She received the Fateh's approximate position from the theater ASW coordination cell, which has been tracking the contact report from USS Minnesota throughout the 11-day trail, and has pre-positioned a sonobuoy barrier directly across the Fateh's projected approach corridor. 47 sonobuoys, dropped in a carefully computed pattern, their DFAR directional receivers listening passively in the water column below the thermocline where Minnesota's acoustic intelligence indicates the Fateh has been operating. The P-8A crew's acoustic processor, the AN/AQS-22 airborne low-frequency sonar system, processing the sonobuoy data in real time, detects the Fateh's contact at 0138 hours, cross-bearing it through 3 sonobuoys and establishing a position fix with 94% confidence. The contact position is transmitted through encrypted data link to USS Minnesota, to the carrier strike group's ASW coordinator aboard USS Abraham Lincoln, and to CTF-54 headquarters at Bahrain. The picture is complete. Minnesota knows where the Fateh is. The P-8A knows where the Fateh is. The strike group knows where the Fateh is. The Fateh's crew knows none of this. At 01:46 hours and 12 seconds, the Fateh reaches periscope depth. Her electronic support measures mast comes up first, a passive receiver that scans for radar emissions before the periscope itself breaks the surface. The ESM system registers the expected picture. The Aegis radar emissions from the surface ships, navigation radars, weather radar from the carrier. Everything confirms the strike group's position within the projected uncertainty envelope. The periscope breaks the surface at 01:46 hours and 44 seconds. The commanding officer takes his bearing fix and confirms his fire control solution. He is satisfied. He gives the order to prepare tubes 1 and 2 for JASC-2 launch. USS Minnesota fires at 01:47 hours and 02 seconds, 18 seconds after the Fateh's periscope broke the surface. The Mark 48 ADCAP Block VII torpedo leaves Minnesota's Tube 1 on a wire-guided run at 55 knots. The Block VII is the most recent production variant of the Mark 48 family, incorporating an advanced guidance system with improved counter-countermeasure capability and a propulsion system that reduces the weapon's own acoustic signature during the approach run, making it harder for the target to detect and localize before the torpedo's active seeker acquires. The wire guidance allows Minnesota's fire control team to steer the torpedo through the initial phase with precision, accounting in real time for any maneuver the Fateh might make as she detects the incoming weapon. The Fateh detects the Mark 48 at 01:47 hours and 31 seconds, 29 seconds after launch, when the torpedo's own noise signature penetrates the Fateh's passive sonar above the background. 29 seconds is not enough time. At 55 knots, the Mark 48 is covering 28 meters per second through the water. In the 29 seconds between launch and detection, it has already covered 812 meters of its approach run. The Fateh is at periscope depth, the worst possible position to be in when a torpedo is inbound. Maneuvering from periscope depth requires flooding ballast tanks, adjusting trim, and accelerating a boat that is currently moving at 2 knots to match her most agile speed. Every second spent at periscope depth is a second lost. The Fateh's commanding officer responds with textbook emergency procedures. He calls for emergency deep, maximum power, and the immediate launch of the boat's acoustic decoy dispensers, torpedo tube launch noisemakers designed to present a false acoustic target to the incoming weapons seeker. The procedures are correct. The crew executes them with the speed that intensive training produces. The first acoustic decoy is in the water at 01:47 hours and 39 seconds. The boat's diesel engines, she cannot use her diesel engines submerged, she is on battery power, are driving her propulsor at maximum rated output, generating a noise signature that is now dramatically louder than her careful patrol profile of the past 11 days. Minnesota's fire control team watches the Fateh's maneuver on their sonar display and feeds course correction updates through the guidance wire. The Mark 48 Block VII's counter-countermeasure algorithms process the acoustic decoy signature and discriminate it from the Fateh's primary acoustic fingerprint, a fingerprint that has been logged and refined over 11 days of trailing, entered into the weapon's targeting discriminator before launch. The decoy that the Iranian crew is counting on to seduce the incoming torpedo away from their hull is rejected by the weapon's processor in 3.1 seconds. The torpedo continues tracking the Fateh. The P-8A Poseidon overhead is witnessing the engagement through its sonobuoy network. The acoustic picture is clear. The Fateh is accelerating and diving, generating significantly increased noise. The Mark 48 is closing. The P-8A crew is providing a running commentary to the ASW coordination cell into USS Abraham Lincoln's CIC, where the strike group commanding officer is watching the engagement play out on the tactical display with the focused attention of a man who has had 11 days to think about this moment and is watching it resolve exactly as planned. The second acoustic decoy from the Fateh enters the water at 01:47 hours and 51 seconds. It is a different frequency signature than the first's. The Iranians have loaded their decoy dispensers with 2 different noise signature profiles, attempting to create ambiguity in the torpedo's discrimination algorithm. It is a sophisticated approach. It reflects real knowledge of how acoustic decoy countermeasures work and a genuine effort to defeat them with layered acoustic confusion. Against an older Mark 48 variant, it might create sufficient discrimination uncertainty to cause a miss. Against the Block VII's updated counter-countermeasure processing, which was specifically upgraded to address exactly this multi-signature decoy approach, it achieves nothing measurable. The Mark 48 Block VII intercepts the Fateh at 01:48 hours and 14 seconds. Depth 67 meters. The Fateh has covered 412 meters of her emergency dive in the time available. She is moving at 8 knots, far below her maximum speed, which she had not reached from a standing start in the available time. The 650-pound PBXN-103 warhead detonation at 67 meters generates a pressure wave that propagates through the water with devastating efficiency. The Fateh's pressure hull, designed for a maximum operating depth of 200 meters, built to withstand the slow, predictable pressure of depth, not the instantaneous shock of a heavyweight torpedo warhead at close range, fails catastrophically within 0.4 seconds of the detonation. The boat ceases to exist as an intact structure. The debris field, hull sections, equipment, the boat's battery bank, the unfired JASC-2 missiles still in their tubes, begins its long, slow descent toward the 3,100-meter abyssal plain below. Elapsed time from Minnesota's torpedo launch to confirmed kill, 1 minute and 12 seconds. The JASC-2 missiles that were going to be fired at USS Abraham Lincoln are on the bottom of the Arabian Sea, still in their launch tubes, inside the wreckage of the submarine that carried them. Not one was fired. The attack that the IRGCN has been planning for 6 weeks, that Tehran's military planners have been constructing as a demonstration of Iran's capability to threaten American naval power in the Arabian Sea, ended before the Iranian commanding officer could give the launch order. The P-8A Poseidon crew completes their post-engagement sonobuoy assessment at 02:11 hours, confirming the kill from the acoustic signature of the Fateh's structural collapse and the subsequent absence of any propulsion signature from the contact. The confirmation is transmitted to the strike group and to CTF-54. USS Minnesota reports the engagement complete and resumes her patrol position in the strike group's ASW screen geometry. The entire underwater engagement, detection, approach, attack, kill, was conducted without the surface ships of the strike group firing a single weapon or changing their formation. Aboard USS Abraham Lincoln, the 0200 hours watch rotation proceeds on schedule. The flight deck crew is conducting a pre-dawn maintenance cycle on the aircraft that flew the previous evening's strike package. The reactor is generating full power. In the CIC, the ASW coordinator logs the engagement summary with the meticulous precision that classified operational reporting demands and forwards it to the appropriate authorities. The commanding officer reviews the report, notes the 11-day intelligence accumulation period that made the engagement possible, and approves it for transmission. In Tehran, the first sign of trouble will be the Fateh's failure to respond to her scheduled communication window. IRGCN submarine operations follow strict communication protocols. Check-in windows at pre-planned times using low-frequency radio signals that can penetrate the water to moderate depth. When the Fateh misses her first window, it will be logged as a possible communication anomaly. When she misses the second window, the anxiety will begin. When she misses the third, the IRGCN command will understand, in the quiet and terrible way that submarine forces understand these things, that the boat is not coming back. There will be no wreckage they can reach. The debris field is at 3,100 meters, far beyond the capability of any Iranian recovery assets. There will be no distress buoys. The boat was destroyed too quickly for any emergency system to activate. There will be no survivors and no communications from the crew in the seconds between the torpedo impact and the structural collapse. The Fateh and her crew will simply be gone, in a patch of the Arabian Sea that Iran cannot search, at a depth Iran cannot reach, with no physical evidence available to the Iranian government or the international community about exactly what happened and when. This ambiguity is not accidental. The United States will not publicly announce the engagement. The classified after-action reports will be processed through channels that do not generate open-source reporting. Tehran will be left with the knowledge that its most capable submarine departed Bandar Abbas 14 days ago, entered the Arabian Sea, and never returned, and that USS Abraham Lincoln is still operating in the region, her flight deck still launching aircraft, her strike group still conducting its scheduled operations without modification. The lesson, delivered in the silence of the deep ocean and the absence of a scheduled radio check-in, is the most complete possible expression of American underwater warfare superiority in the Arabian Sea. Iran invested years and significant resources developing the Fateh class, studying thermocline exploitation techniques, planning a carefully timed attack against the symbol of American naval power in their region. The United States Navy countered that investment with 11 days of patient trailing, a perfectly timed torpedo shot, and a P-8A Poseidon sonobuoy barrier that confirmed what the Virginia class already knew. The Fateh was supposed to demonstrate that Iran could threaten a United States carrier strike group in international waters. Instead, she demonstrated the gap between believing you are undetected and actually being undetected. A gap that the U.S. Navy's Virginia-class submarines and P-8A Poseidons measure with instruments Iran does not have and cannot acquire. The IRGCN sent its best submarine into the Arabian Sea to change the balance of power. The balance did not change. The boat did not come back. USS Abraham Lincoln continues her freedom of navigation operations. The Arabian Sea remains international water. The flight deck is preparing for the 0400 hours launch cycle, and the smell of jet fuel and the thunder of catapult shots will roll across the dark water before sunrise as if nothing happened. Because for the most powerful carrier strike group in the world, a submarine that never got to fire is exactly that. Nothing happened. The carrier keeps sailing. Bye for now.